I was really a part of it. I was really being put into the club and being like shown that I'm a part of this brotherhood now, and it was great.
So, Christopher, same question for you, man. How did you feel going through? Because you've been in the program 2 years now as well. How was your first induction ceremony?
It was pretty good. We didn't actually we did sorry, I can't.
So they take you through a process, and you understand what the program is all about. I saw something. I am royalty. Explain that to us.
I am royalty. It's a mindset. It's the whole thinking of a higher mindset, of a
Mm-hmm.
mindset. So that's what we're instilling into these young men. The induction ceremony, as he has alluded to, it's hey, welcome a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a long life journey, not just while you're in school, but we can continue to support you as you build yourself and your life as a young adult. But the I am royalty is a mindset. It's a slogan that we say to instill, so you know that hey, I'm the highest, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people look at royalty as high, your highness. So that's what we like to instill when we say I am royalty.
I love that you're doing that, but let's even take it a step further. This program is in Orange County, in Orange County Public Schools.
Yep.
So how did you? Because I know your background. You worked for the Department of Juvenile Justice as well.
Yep.
How did you get here? That's what a lot of people want to know. How did you come to establish a program like this?
It came from my experience working for the Department of Juvenile Justice. I am from Orange County. I went to Orange County Public Schools. So it's a way of me giving back to what I came from, what I'm a product of, born and raised in Pine Hills, attended Evans High School, being in Orlando, being in
Mm,
Orange County, being a part of this environment. I see young men who grew up in the same neighborhood I
yeah.
grew up in, sometimes even living in the same complexes or streets that I lived on. So, I've developed these relationships over the years with Department of Juvenile Justice, Orange County Public Schools, and there's just, you know, the people that have known me, some
Hmm.
who have raised me, of being part of that community network who support the program and support us being in the schools and working with the students.
The things that I love about your program, Nick, and I just got to tell you, you meet these young men where they're at. And Watson, tell me, man, how important is the King Solomon Foundation? How important has it been for you?
For me,
And get ready because this question coming to you next.
when I was before I joined Men of Royalty, I would say I wasn't really trying to put myself out there. I really didn't know much people at Evans. I was really just in my own closed group. But when I joined Men of Royalty, I was able to talk to the seniors in the club. I know a couple of them now. I know the other people around the school, and I feel like joining Men of Royalty allowed me to meet more people than I would have. I would say.
Okay.
Then
So it worked on some of your social skills.
yes.
Okay. What about you, Christopher? How important is the King Solomon Foundation to you? How impacting has it been for you?
We learned a lot of new things like how to give CPR. Um, what
Wait, y'all
else?
teaching CPR?
They got
Yeah,
CPR
certification.
certified.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, certified.
okay.
Yep.
We also learned some business techniques and how to handle your money, and it
So you're learning
also helped.
financial literacy over there as well.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Yep.
It also impacted my social skills too because I used to be an introvert when I came to Evans, and now it feels more welcoming.
Man, this what it's all about. Having these type of conversations and even having uncomfortable conversations, which I'm going to inject into this conversation right now with all of the things that's taking place. I mean, social media, um, with some of the unfortunate things that we're seeing take place in our communities. Nick, I'm gonna pass this to you because you're more than capable. But Nick, we have a lot of things going on in the streets right now. How important is it for you to have King Solomon Foundation working with, and these young men? I see they're being prepared. What are you doing with the King Solomon Foundation, man, to continue to stop some of the tragedies that we see
Mhm.
that's taking place?
What we're doing in the King Solomon Foundation is building relationships.
Mm,
All of our students, we're with them a lot. they can reach out to us anytime.
Mhm.
There's any time that Chris can reach out to me if he's going through something or need to talk to me. And there's really no limits. If there's something you're going through, you can reach out to me. And that's not just me. That's anybody that's on our staff.
So this is not a program where, okay, we're seeing you a few days a week and that's it. They can reach out anytime.
Anytime. Anytime.
So Chris, how has it been? What's been your experience when you have whether it's you're feeling troubled or you're having some issue with something or somebody?
So
How do you engage?
I had a little what would it call- problems at home, and the first person that came to mind was Mr. Nick, and he helped solve the problem, and uh after that it was better.
Nick, that's important. I mean, you mentioned juvenile justice. I know you're familiar with children and families, a number of organizations that their mission is to help.
Mhm.
To hear this young man really disclose, and that's not easy to do. Let me tell you,
Mhm.
to say, I need some help.
Mhm.
So how often are you and your staff able to engage? Because when we think about it, we think about family is one thing. You got other issues in the community that take place. How are you doing this, man? Because I mean, evidently it's effective.
Mhm. So, I mean, we build a relationship with the students first, and then we try to engage the parents as well. A lot of them I have relationships with their parents as well. So
Mhm.
just as they're accessible, I'm accessible to them. Their parents are also have me as well if they would need to reach out to me. We do this to trying to do parent socials. When it comes to what you're saying about things that are going in the community, we are still a product of the community. We're still
Mhm.
in the community. I have students in the program who witnessed, one of the shootings that happened
Yeah.
recently. And that's been an effect, trying to make sure that he's good, make sure that he has the right people around him to help him deal with that. I mean, he wasn't necessarily involved in it, but he still saw it.
You know what you're talking about right now, Nick? And I'm glad you're bringing this up. There's traumas that take place, and I'm no expert,
Mhm.
but you don't have to be somebody directly
Oh,
affected
right.
in ACEs, adverse childhood experiences.
Mhm.
Man, because we're an adult, that means we don't have something that took place in our childhood that still
Mhm.
affects us, that's carried with us. So, man, it's interesting you mentioned that. Watson, let me ask you this, because man, I tell you, we're having this conversation, and I'm sitting up here thinking about, you mentioned financial literacy, you mentioned uh, conflict resolution with King Solomon Foundation. The other thing I want to ask the question is schoolwork, academics. How does the King Solomon Foundation help you in that area?
Um, well, before I joined, and I think still to the day, I have horrible time management skills.
Okay, he's able to. Hey, I need to talk to my daughters about that, because he giving some disclosure here. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I joined, I would regularly just waste my time watching YouTube, scrolling through TikTok, just waste my time. But staying after school at Men of Royalty, it not just taught me how to manage my time, but it showed me why. Why would I manage my time? Why not just waste my time on TikTok or YouTube? The bigger picture, I guess.
The bigger picture.
Yeah.
See, he done took us there, so I got to take us there.
Mhm.
Social media, Christopher, Mr. Nick Watson. That's a conversation in and of itself. And before we run out of time, let's just hit that right on the head. You mentioned TikTok and some of these other platforms. Nick, how are you communicating with the young men that you're working with about how to be safe in access, and because they're gonna access it?
Mhm.
How do you do it and be responsible and be safe?
Mhm. So we do have a communications workshop that we do annually with our students, to just kind of teach them how to navigate through that, using social media apps and communicating with other people. But also, we also talk about our approach from a business standpoint.
Okay.
How can you capitalize on your involvement in the social media area? There's nothing we could do, to your point, what you just said.
Mhm.
It's here. It's here to stay. How can we be successful in the social media realm, successful and safe?
Mhm.
And that's something that we talk about in one of our communication modules. But we mainly talk a lot about how can we monetize it.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about in our group a lot. How can we monetize being a part of these different platforms?
Man. Well, for those of you who have tuned in, you don't have to have a social media platform to access this show. You can access this show by going to ltnnetwork.net. We're having a conversation with Mr. Nick Solomon, the founder, creator, originator of the King Solomon Foundation and after school program, a mentoring program, builds character. I mean, I love the piece about I am royalty. I mean, that rings home. Nick, if you would, man, speak to the audience again about the young men and how many young men are you working with? What communities are you working in? You're in multiple schools. Shout out to the Orange County Public Schools because however you've navigated, you've been successful because I hear great things from Orange County Public School officials about what you're doing. I hear great things from Chief Johnny Alderman with the Department of Juvenile Justice. What you're doing is working. And that's what we need to continue to invest in. How many young men are you working with?
So currently in our program, we have a little over 100 boys across all of our programs that have registered. We're currently in 3 schools, which is Evans High School, Robbinswood Middle School, and Westridge Middle School. But at Evans, we have the most young men in our program. On this past induction, I think we had just a little over 50 who registered for our program this year.
Okay. You know what? We are talking about the King Solomon Foundation. It's located in Orange County, Florida. Hey, Nick, before we go to break, you got to give a shout out to your funders. Don't ever forget your funders. So, man, give a shout out. Who funds your program?
So we're currently being funded through the City of Orlando, My Brother's Keeper initiative, who's kind of helped us grow in that aspect, and also FEC.
And I gotta give the shout out to Mayor Demings with Orange County with the CCC. Nick, man, I gotta tell you, you're doing some great work. Before we go to break, if there's companies, if there's organizations that want to don't, because you're not for profit, correct?
We're a nonprofit organization, yes.
I see these jackets, and I'm gonna tell our executive producer, y'all hold up because I got to make this point. I see these jackets.
Yeah.
I know some of the work that you're doing in the community. You're taking these young men on college tours. All of that costs money.
All of it costs money.
So while you get some funding from City of Orlando, great program, My Brother's Keeper, Orange County, CCC, Florida Economic Consortium, but Nick, it still costs money to take these young men on college tours.
Yep.
Tell people how they can get a hold of you if they want to donate.
Yep. If you want to donate to the King Solomon Foundation, you can get a hold of us on our website at www.iam-royalty.org, or you can cash up us at Cash App symbol KSFDN, or follow us on Instagram at KSFDN.
And if you want to get that information again, you can rewind this tape on social media. You can go to the website, or you can actually call Let's Talk Nation, and we'll get that information to you. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with featuring none other than the King Solomon Foundation. We'll be right back with you.
Gun violence prevention, conflict resolution training, positive law enforcement interactions. These are a few program service delivery contacts that the community-based services CBS Accountability smartphone app captures. Good intentions are not enough. Results are what matters. Buenas intenciones no es suficiente. Tener resultados es lo importante. The CBS smartphone app provides the verifiable programmatic elements of the who, what, when, and where. The CBS Smartphone Accountability app captures community service providers, clients' positive and negative encounters with law enforcement as a means to monitor, value, and evaluate relationship development.
Law enforcement needs to get out in the community and out of our cars and build that relationship with the community.
CBS Smartphone Accountability app by CSG Tech Solutions. Don't delay. Subscribe today. No tarde más. Suscríbase hoy.
Joining me once again is Mr. Nick Solomon, and we have 2 young men here, Watson and Christopher. Hey, we're going to come back to y'all on this. You've been in the program 2 years now.
Yes, sir.
What would you be doing? And this is a tough question, so you get ready for it. I already did the flip on him with you now. Now it's your turn. What would you be doing if you didn't have the King Solomon Foundation?
Honestly, I'm in a a few sports, so I'd probably just be going to like the ROTC or wrestling.
Oh, you know RTC.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can wrestle too.
I'm kind of new to it, so.
New to it. Yep.
Okay, okay. So
But
you'd be doing those things, but man, what I hear about the King Solomon Foundation, man, and we're talking about financial literacy. We're talking about it working with you so that I used to be an introvert myself. You can't tell now, but I used to be an introvert. So what would you be doing if not, involved with the King Solomon Foundation?
In honesty, I'll probably be at home right now. Just either watching something or just wasting my time away.
Don't say
Don't
wasting
say
your
that.
time
No,
away.
not.
Don't say that.
Yeah, Mr. Solomon, what has he meant to the both of you with exposing you to a lot of things that you wouldn't ordinarily see?
I don't think I'd be doing as much research as I do right now, be on money and stuff. But yeah, he's it's a
So it's been
great
okay.
I
foundation.
pushed him to the limit. That's what it is. They were like, let's go on this tour right now. Know what you're doing? Nothing. Come on, you're going on this tour.
What since you bring it up, the college tour.
Uh-huh.
What colleges, man?
So we try to expose them to all different types of schools, trade schools, technical schools, universities, community colleges. So recently we just toured University of Central Florida, as well as University of South Florida. But every year we do a annual college tour in March, and then throughout the year we go on these 1-day college tours of schools that's within a 2-hour drive
Okay.
of Orange County.
Nick, something, and these are things that we've learned as we've been in the business. Nick, you plan for when school is out, when you supposedly don't have as much access to these young men because, summertime comes around, folk maybe go visit or I don't. So Nick, how do you plan for when summer? Because I noticed you keep your hands uh, on these young men so that when summertime comes, you're still engaged with them. You're making sure that you're helping make better decisions, working with their parents. You're still doing community service.
So you kind of led right into it. I don't know if you know why, statistically why that is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's best to keep students involved when school is out. So they don't idle minds just sitting around the house, like you said. What am I going to do with my time? Let's fill this time up with something positive, something that's going to help you grow, something that's going to contribute to your future. Summer, is the biggest time for car thefts and for teens to get into other things during the summer because they have so much time on their hand. So we try to do a summer camp during the summer. They're doing the spring break. We try to do a college tour, not only because school is out and it's an opportunity to go farther and do things, but also because we want to fill that time up with something that's going to contribute to the future.
Smart. Nick, what's the youngest the young man you work with? What's the age?
The age range, I should say school, because we mainly work with middle and high school, but we all go all the way up to college. So we go all the way up to age of 25.
Okay. And middle school starts at what grade?
Middle school can start around 10, 11.
Okay.
Yep.
And people don't understand it is really important to reach young people as early as you possibly can. Let me ask a question. Have you ever experienced bullying or teasing at school or in your neighborhood? And if so, how's the King Solomon Foundation help you?
Well, even in school, there's like teasing, like joking around. But King Solomon kind of with the other brotherhood, those kids that are in the club also are in the school too.
Okay.
So I have multiple people that's in the same class as me, or I see them in the hallway. So I could talk to them anytime I feel like I'm not in the right area or environment.
Well, I like something that Mr. Solomon mentioned earlier, that he's never inaccessible to you. You can reach out to him anytime. One of the other questions that I have: what kind of support or guidance do you feel you need in your life right now? I mean, that's a deep question. What kind of support or guidance do you think you may need in your life right now? This is a question for both of y'all. So, Chris, I'm gonna ask you.
I think I need actually I think I have what I need. Mr. Nick as mentor. The King Solomon Foundation as people to come to and friends, and yeah, I think
So King Solomon Foundation. See, even our engineers over there shaking his head like, yeah, yeah. King Solomon Foundation is really filling the gap.
hmm
I'm gonna add something to the bullying comment though. One of the things, so in our program, it's a brotherhood, and that's what we teach them, right? And we can joke around with each other, but we're never going to go out and embarrass each other
Yeah.
in front. And that's something we talked about before. We talked about in the program. If you see a brother that's, let's say, pants falling down or something like that, that's an opportunity just to say, hey, pull your pants up as a brother,
Yeah. Yeah.
inside this organization, to help each other out versus picking on somebody or
Mhm.
something like that. So we try to look at it from that standpoint, and not embarrass you or pick on you in front of everybody, but let's talk about it privately.
Mr. Nick, I'm gonna bring this up because I think it's so vitally important. The program that you have where you're working with young men, if you want to go to a vernacular, and it's referred to as a gender specific program because you're working with young men.
Mhm.
The counter side of that is you got Lane's Girls, gender specific program, Power Teens with Miss Laurie James, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Lisa Williams with Lane's Girls. Some incredible programs that's working with young ladies, and your program is working with young men. How important do you think it is to work with young people, but to have a gender specific program so that you can build the brotherhood or a sisterhood?
I think it's very important. You're able to get more. You're able to connect with the guys a little bit more when it's a gender specific program. We've tried to do girls and guys at the same time, but they seem to
Get distracted.
they seem to get a little distracted. So we decided just to stick with the gender specific program, just because we're able to get more accomplished with the young men and preparing them to be better young men. However, we always look for opportunities to partner with other girls groups like Lane's. Lane's been
Yeah.
around for a very long time. So many wonderful things about them. But we also partner with some other girls groups during the Christmas break, and we do a Christmas social with them every year.
Okay.
So
And you know what? I'd be remiss, man, because matter of fact, you, myself, Marcus Brown with I Hope Mentoring. Man, who else was with? There's some folk out there that has some programming, man. And if you look at the investment that city government, that county government invest in it, and then you do the counter side to look at how much it's saving taxpayers, you look at the fact that it costs $261 to house a kid over in the juvenile detention center, and then you look at working with these young men and how much is being saved by taxpayers. I mean, we ain't gonna go. We don't have enough time Nick, to go into that. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But I just say that to say programs such as the King Solomon Foundation are more than worth it, to the extent, Nick, you and I had a conversation. You are overperforming when it comes to seeing these young folk, looking at what the number of units of services that per month you need to do. You're doing a lot of recruitment. You're out there talking to parents, talking to teachers. You mentioned it, networking. And so these are the kind of programs, man, that we need to highlight. Watson, I got to come back to you and not forget to ask you this question. Same question Chris answered. What kind of support or guidance do you feel you need in your life right now?
Right now, as a junior, I think those college tours really helped me out. Before, when I was a sophomore, I wasn't really thinking about. I really didn't care what college I was gonna attend. I just wanted to get the education. But when we went to UCF, seeing the environment, the campus, I think that's the college I would like to attend.
You do know that that's the second largest college in the United States per population. You do know that, right?
Yep.
And let me tell you something else that I do know about UCF. My wife got her undergraduate's degree from UCF. My daughter is in UCF's nursing school right now. So UCF keep their hands in my pocket all the time. But go Knights. I mean, that is UCF, man, is an excellent school. I know you go to other college tours. So, and speaking of that, you going to UCF, I know summertime, you, or was it
springtime?
Yeah, springtime.
Yep.
Where else have you taken a young man?
Yep. We also recently went to University of South Florida as well. A couple of weeks ago, we took them on the tour of University of South Florida. During March, every year we go on a tour, usually a little bit farther. This past year, we went to a few schools up in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. There's tons of schools in the Atlanta area that we went to.
Nick, before you and I get in trouble, because we mentioned UCF, you mentioned South Florida. Attorney Greg Jackson is going to be coming in for the Let's Talk Nation show, and we got a lot of friends, you and I, that are Rattlers, some Wildcats.
Okay,
So people sitting up here saying, well, what about them HBCUs?
We've been to them too. I'm a proud graduate of Bethune-Cookman University myself.
Okay. Hey, and guess what? The Classic is coming up real soon.
The Classic is coming up, and we will beat those Rattlers.
Hey, you hear that? Hey, now, okay, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Started something right now. Yes, I am.
You did start something now. Boy, them Wildcats. I'm trying to think. Didn't they get beat
last
year? But they had a 8-year run or something?
Yeah, we had a long run, and then I think we've been beat the last 2 years.
Okay.
We go to HBCUs as well. We went to Bethune-Cookman University. They also did a beach day over there not too long ago. They went over to Daytona. We go up to FAMU all the time. FAMU show us plenty of love. BCU show us plenty of love. We've been to a lot of HBCUs. We went to South Carolina State this year as well. Went to Morris Brown and Morehouse, as well as Clark University, Clark Atlanta University. So we have the HBCU tour on actually this upcoming year is all HBCUs.
Okay. Yep. Well, the question that we're gonna get, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask you while we're on air, is people are interested. King Solomon Foundation has been in existence for how many years now?
15 years. This year we celebrated 15 years.
Okay, and I didn't ask you to bring your data before you got here, but how many young people that have gone through the doors of the King Solomon Foundation that have gone to college? I mean, and let me qualify this. Not everybody has to go to college. You mentioned trades and things of nature, but how many young people, off your guesstimation, that have gone on to school?
Over the past, I'll speak to the past 8 years that we've been specifically at Evans High School. There's probably about 60% of our students that end up going to college or a post-secondary education. But I have students who started their own business. I have one who owns a HVAC AC repair company. And
what about military?
Well, I have a few students that's in the military that's doing really well. I have one who he's going his second tour now, and he's doing really well.
Okay.
He comes back.
See, that's what people need to hear, because we see, unfortunately, everything the news want us to see, but the news, and I'm not going to mention any of the channels right now, but they need to be showing the successes that are taking place. And I, to the credit, because you and I both did an interview with a couple of the news stations that wanted to highlight what was taking place, and they do come out and do it. So I'm gonna be honest. Hey, we're gonna take another quick break. I am here with some young men from the King Solomon Foundation. I'm here with the founder, none other than Mr. Nick Solomon. You're on the Sit Down with Rod Love. We're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna go in for the goal line.
I don't know. Look at her. She's a crackhead. Figured she might have a weapon.
What did she try to steal?
I caught her trying to put this under her coat.
Community Resource Connector by CSG. Social services, community policing, and social justice.
Did you try and steal the bread?
My husband sold our link card and I don't have any money. I'm not a drug addict. I just wanted to make my boy a sandwich.
You gonna arrest her or what?
CRC is a real-time resource tool for human service professionals, law enforcement, juvenile justice, child welfare, education, traditional and non-traditional not-for-profits.
How much is the bread?
$1.50.
Now is the time to build new organizational relationships through wraparound services that produce measurable outcomes.
Here you go.
Community Resource Connector by CSG, the effective way people help people.
We're asking cops to do too much in this country. We are. We're just asking us to do too much. Every societal failure, we put it off on the cops to solve. Not enough mental health funding. Let the cop handle it. Not enough drug addiction funding. Let's give it to the cops. Here in Dallas, we got a loose dog problem. Let's have the cops chase loose dogs. Schools fail. Give it to the cops. 70% of the African American community is being raised by single women. Let's give it to the cops to solve that as well. That's too much to ask. Policing was never meant to solve all those problems. And I just ask for other parts of our democracy, along with the free press, to help us. To help us and not put that burden all on law enforcement to resolve.
Welcome back to the Sit Down. I have with me, and I mean, for those of you who've been tuned in, we've been talking to Mr. Nick Solomon, the president, CEO, and I'm always going to continue to elaborate on him being the originator, none other like it, because the King Solomon Foundation is in Orange County, and it's doing some great work. When I say Orange County, I can't say Orange County without saying Orlando. Nick, interactions with law enforcement, interactions with the police, we see all too often all of the negative connotations with law enforcement engagement, but there's a lot of positive things that's taking place with law enforcement as well. Does your program interact with law enforcement at all, with the young men that you serve?
So we've this past year we've had a law enforcement panel sit down. But this was in partnership with Central Florida Urban League, but we try to do that once a semester.
Okay.
Where we get to come and talk to law enforcement officers, ask questions to students, and ask questions, just anything that may be on their mind. This is their opportunity to engage with law enforcement. What they find is, some of the law enforcement are a little bit more chill than they probably think they are. But we try to expose them as much as we can. We want to change that perception of Black males, as well as the misconception or misunderstanding of law enforcement as well.
And that's a good, Nick. Let me ask this question, man. Do you teach the young men that come into your trust, do you teach them about their engagement with law enforcement? Because we've all seen some interactions go terribly bad. So do you teach them about how do you conduct yourself, even if you don't think law enforcement is acting appropriately? How do you conduct yourself so that you can get home that evening and then be able to have an adult or somebody go and address what you think was inappropriate?
This past school year, we haven't had a module specifically for that. But last year we had a summit at Evans High School where we had law enforcement come in, and we had a whole module. It was for the Man Up program as well as the Men of Royalty program on the campus. So we had them come in specifically just to talk about how to interact with law enforcement, how to make sure you get home safe.
Yeah. I got to ask you two young men, how's your interaction when you see law enforcement? What do you think? What do you feel about that? Do you have any interaction?
Well, at Evans, I'm not sure if they're law enforcement, but there's
RSOs, they're law enforcement.
Oh yeah, they're at Evans, and recently, I'm not sure. Well, last year there was a threat at Evans, and with them being there, I had the peace of mind that
felt safe.
Yeah, I had a better feeling of safety.
That is important. We don't hear that too often. What about you? Your interactions? What do you think about law enforcement?
I honestly don't have too much interactions with law enforcement, but the ones I've had, they're all like not what other Black young men say they're about. They're usually like helpful and not like
What you're saying is what, Nick, I hope you see this is the kind of conversation that we need to have, because while I believe in holding law enforcement accountable because they're empowered with the ability to take your life.
Yes.
But the other side of it too is, like this young man is saying, his perception of them, what he's experiencing, and these folks, just they're people, they're everyday people, man. And I think that's why we got to be able to communicate this, man, so that people hear and understand these are fathers, these are mothers, these folk have children as well, and at the same time, these young men deserve and want to be respected as well. And by the way, you mentioned to Mr. Nick, and I did catch it. You said something about ROs or SROs. Yeah, they're police too. That's the police too.
Yeah, they're police.
So Nick, man, you've been doing this great work in the community. You're serving these young men. We see, unfortunately, a lot of violence in the community that involves young people.
Mhm.
What are you teaching? What kind of conversations are you having with these young men? And then I want you to go ahead and ask the question of them. You know, hey, Nick Solomon is my co-host tonight. But what are you saying to these young men about how do they prevent themselves from being a victim and also not picking up these guns?
Well, we talk about not being in certain environments,
Mhm.
you know, surrounding yourself with positive energy, positive people, positive friends. That starts with being a part of the Men of Royalty, you know, trying to make sure you have people that have your same mindset, your same way of thinking. Based on the community that we're in, sometimes you just can't avoid some things.
Yeah.
You know, you can't avoid some things. You're just being a product, or not in a product, but being in that environment in itself, and not being a product
You're right. You're right.
of your environment. But that's that. Those are just conversations that we have. Just trying to make sure that we're changing the trajectory of what people say our life should be.
Man, well, you hit that right on the head. Nick, you mentioned something, man, and we talked about trauma informed care, but also when you see a level of violence, unfortunately, in the community, does your program work with other entities so that if these young men are having issues that require a license, behavioral therapist or mental health, what type of interaction or connections or networking are you networking with other programs? I should just ask.
Yes, we have been developing relationships with other programs, even the ones through FEC, as well as Orange County Public Schools, as well as there's just a network of other programs that do similar things, but maybe not necessarily mentoring, but they provide mental health counseling, or they can do assessments for us and things like that. Now, one of the great things I talk about Evans because we've been there the longest, but we are in other schools as well. But one of the great things about working with Evans is that they have so many resources available. So if I have a student that I'm working with, and there's something that I know that I'm not licensed to deal with, I know where I can go. I know how I can make a referral for that student to make sure that they are getting either mental health counseling or whatever that.
So you morphed into also knowing where you can get wraparound services.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, you know, as we wind down and we have 5 minutes left, Chris, I gotta ask you, man, if you were to tell any of the young men that's watching this program, what would you say to them to convince them to engage and be part of King Solomon Foundation?
I'd say really try to interact with the people around you and not don't fear the people, and have try to be welcoming to others. And
you're taking me to a Bible verse my father-in-law often tell me, and that Bible verse says something to, I ain't no preacher, so I may get it wrong, but it says something to the extent that in order to be a friend, you must first show yourself to be friendly. And man, you just hit that on the head. I appreciate that. Mr. Watson, what would you say to the audience watching to convince other young men to reach out to Mr. Solomon and, hey, come and be a part of the King Solomon Foundation?
I'll say, back to what I was saying, Men of Royalty is a brotherhood. When you feel you're alone and you don't have nobody else to speak to, you can come to Men of Royalty. There's other people that probably in similar situations that you can have a conversation with or talk to, spend more time with, and I feel that's what I'll say.
Hey, both of you gentlemen, y'all are being prepared and ready for the world through the King Solomon Foundation. Mr. Nick, man, come on, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes or whatever time you need to tell people about King Solomon Foundation, how they can get a hold of you. I will go ahead and give a shameless plug to the King Solomon Foundation. Man, they're taking kids on college tours. They're doing things in the community. They're, Thanksgiving. Hey, if you're a small business, or even if you an individual and you got a couple of dollars that you want to donate in a direction, the King Solomon Foundation is a not-for-profit 501c3. It's tax deductible too, by the way. So Nick, man, if you would, man, close us out and tell people about what you want them to know.
Sure. We could always use help with mentors. This is something that has went away over the years, but that's something that's still needed. Anybody who's willing to volunteer just their time and be, you may think that you don't have anything to offer, but you do. Yeah. You have life experiences. But if you want to be a mentor, reach out to us. You can follow us on Instagram at KSFDN, which stands for King Solomon Foundation, Facebook, as well as if you want to send a monetary donation, our Cash App account is KSFDN as well, or you can find us on our website at im-royalty.org. We always looking for business partners or people who want to give back and help with the youth that we serve.
Nick, want to thank you and the young man, Christopher Watson. Thank y'all for having the courage to come on, man. You guys did a great job. King Solomon Foundation is in the Orange County community. Another shout out to Orange County CCC for funding initiatives such as this. Shout out to the city of Orlando, my brother's keeper. The funding is well worth it, and you're reaching young people. You're reaching the families. You are putting on parent socials to engage parents, Nick, and I commend you for that, because that has been tough for every program. This is our 15th week, and programs say it's real tough for the parent interaction. And so we see the things that you're doing out there. Young man, you're always welcome on the Sit Down. Nick, keep up the great work you're doing. Our door is always open, man, and we appreciate the work you're doing. For everybody who's watching the Sit Down, this takes place every Monday at 6 o'clock. If you have a program that's effective, please engage us. We look forward to vet your program, because we don't let anybody on here. The King Solomon Foundation is a program that's working. Christopher Watson, Mr. Nick, hey, man, we appreciate y'all. Until next Monday at 6 o'clock, hey, join us to learn what's happening on the Sit Down with community-based organizations. We'll see you next week.